Hello, and welcome to Sex Is, the podcast brought to you by DC's Health Sex Is. My name is Poet Taylor from WPGC 95.5, and believe it or not, we are already at episode 3. Yeah, we've discussed sex and communication and sex and consent, but today we are discussing something that we all interact with every day. I'm talking pop culture. That's right. Today we are discussing how sex and sexual health are portrayed in popular music. We're also get into how gender and sexual orientation changes the perception of that music. Now, for those who may be new to this, let me tell you a little bit about the Sex Is campaign. Sex Is a campaign by DC Health encouraging open, honest, and judgment-free conversations about sex and sexual health among youth and their trusted adult, which I am proud to be, a trusted adult. Now, this campaign was created to share accurate information and resources about sex and sexual health with DC youth. Now, it also provides a very safe space to discuss sex and sexual health. And it's with that I bring you some of the dopest folks that you'll ever meet. My panel for today, before we get into this conversation, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining me. If you would do me the honor of introducing yourselves so I can know your name, where are you representing? Can you share your pronouns and your school or workplace that you're repping?
Hey, my name is Zoe. I go to Benjamin Banneker Academic High School. I'm in the 12th grade. My pronouns are his, her, and hers, and I reside in Southeast DC.
Hi, my name is Crystal Collins. I'm a junior at McKinley Tech, and I reside in DC, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers.
Hi, I'm Kennedy. My pronouns are she and her. I reside in Ward 7, DC, and I'm a freshman at the University of Kentucky.
Hi, I'm Faith. My pronouns are she and her. I'm from Northwest, and I go to Nova Southeastern University.
Hi, my name is Brianna. My pronouns are she, hers, and hers. I live in Tuolumne Heights, and I'm a senior at Wilson High School.
My name is Jabulani. I'm a senior at Duke Ellington School of the Arts. I stay in Northeast DC, and my pronouns are him and his.
Welcome, 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 panel. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. As always, I like to start with asking, how is your heart? How is your energy? 2020 has 2020. So how are we feeling? And where are we in life right now?
I'm feeling pretty good, Poet.
I'm doing all right. I'm looking forward to my next chapter in my schooling. My schooling, yeah. College applications. Practicing my instrument hard. Just making sure that I'm ready for my future.
I'm also doing okay. I just finished my first semester of college, and it was kind of tough, but I'm just relieved to be on winter break. I finished finals, I think last week. I was like, during the beginning of December, I was like done with our first semester. And yeah, I just think 2020 has been a lot for everyone. And I'm just going to take this time to relax and reboot.
Oh, I like that. Relax and reboot. I need that on a t-shirt, Faith. Who else wants to tell me how they're living right now?
I'm a little tired considering how long 2020 has been, but through all of that, nevertheless, I'm trying to stay positive and remain calm and hopefully expect better out of the new year.
I'm doing all right. A little bit stressed because I'm finalizing my college applications. So I'm applying to a lot of schools, and it's just like a lot for me and overwhelming. But hopefully by January, I'm like done with everything and I don't have to worry about it anymore. So 2021 should be looking like kind of light for me.
Was I the only person who felt like when it was first like quarantine, be by yourself? I was like, hey, personal time. And then as it got extended, I was like, wait a minute, I miss hugs in real life and being close. How have y'all dealt with being socially distant in a very social world?
It's been a struggle, honestly, for me because, like, a lot of people, I wouldn't necessarily call myself an introvert, but I kind of relied on that social interaction every day. Just, kept me sane. And it's kind of hard staying sane. Like, you're always in the house and, like, even though you can be on Zoom and stuff, it's still not like in real life. You're not having no real face-to-face conversation. So.
I'm probably the unpopular opinion of the group. Like, I was so excited when it started. Still it's like now I have an excuse when people are like, oh, can you come here? Can you come there? I'm like, oh, Corona. I can't come. Oh, Corona. But then they probably be looking at my Instagram and say, she pick and choose. She pick and choose because if I know, but for me, it's like, I go out with my friends. Like if I know where they've been, for the most part, they doing the same exact thing that I'm doing. And we're pretty careful about social distancing. I would say that I'm more introverted, so it's just like it didn't affect me as much. Like I have a outgoing personality, but at the same time, I love being myself. Plus, I'm from a very big family, so my household is already big. Like I don't be feeling that lonely. I definitely don't feel that lonely.
I need to join y'all. Now, keeping with the theme of this episode, what song on your playlist have you been holding and hugging on to as you've navigated the emotional roller coaster that has been 2020?
I like the song Beautiful by Queen Naija because like in the beginning of the song she talks about her past and like looking back and like there was a lot of tears for her and stuff like that and it's just been like hard. But then she talks about she transitions into talking about her future and how bright it is and like just like how much happier she is now. So I feel like I can relate to that the most right now, especially just because 2020 has been a lot in my personal life and with school. And I feel like as we leave 2020 and we're wrapping up December, I can definitely like use that to guide my 2021.
My song would be First World Problems by Brent Fayez because basically in the song he says all that glitters ain't gold and as far as you see isn't the horizon, and I can relate to that very well right now because I kind of feel like I'm stuck and kind of stagnant, especially with school because I'm kind of struggling, so I feel like this is just determines my future. But when I listen to the song, it just helps me remember that everything isn't finalized and I have a lot that I don't see and I have a lot of new opportunities that will come in the future. So.
My song is My Hair by Ariana Grande. It's just a really nice song and it's a vibe.
I think for me, every song on my playlist is my song, but also I would say like the song that came out right now that pretty much like more recently that pretty much describes me is Pretend by Queen Naija because I could like truly relate when she was like, people that say that I'm too nice, they say that I'm weak because of that. Like that is me. My friends tell me all the time, "Oh my gosh, you gotta stop being so nice." But it thoroughly explains like where my niceness is going to get me in life.
It's about like 10 songs that really like got me through this year. But I'm gonna just get like the top 3 off that list, and that's Shooter by Playboy Cardi, Lemonade by Don Toliver, Gunna and Nav, and Ultraviolet by Thousand Bad Fun. Yeah, those, yeah.
There's a lot of songs I listened to this year that just like describe my mood throughout the whole year. But like one song that like I'm listening to right now that just keeps me going, that just puts me in a good mood is Meet Me Halfway by the Black Eyed Peas. It's a throwback, but it's still a really good song.
You know, I'm taking notes on all of these songs, right? Thank y'all for y'all recommendations. Mine would be Her, As I Am, and Mahalia's Everyday People, which reminds me every day that even though social and headlines can make you think you just the only one going through it, we all are in a journey of some sort and in different chapters, and that the best is still yet to come. So we already know that today's topic is, of course, sex and pop culture in music. And again, let's remember the rules. We respect each other's opinions and we don't yuck anyone's yum. So let's get into this. And my first question is a doozy. So feel free to think on it a little bit. Does music play a role in how you talk about sex, friendship, relationships? Just based on the content of the songs that we're hearing today?
I do think it plays a big role in relationships and friendships. Like if you know me, like Faith can tell you personally, I'm always quoting the artist, whether it's like Aaliyah, like if you first you don't succeed, pick yourself up and try again. Or if it's Escape, if you need to relax, like kick off your shoes and relax your feet, or whatever it may be. I'm always quoting artists. So I just think that it does play a pretty positive effect because first it creates conversation. It may be a little funny, it may be like an icebreaker or something, but I think it plays a positive role in conversations.
Yes, I agree with Kennedy, but I also think that it could play a positive, negative, and neutral role. I think that when music as it relates to sex and conversations about sex, it can kind of like push certain agendas towards people like, oh, I feel like I gotta do this, so I feel like I gotta do that. And it could teach you a couple things. Will be like, oh, maybe I want to learn this, or maybe I want to learn that. But I know that if I'm talking to somebody and they like, so and so said that they do this, I'm like, I'm not so and so. I'm not doing that. Well, I don't know how to do that yet. I'm not there yet. Maybe I'll be there, but I'm not there yet. So.
Can you relate to what artists today are singing and rapping about? Like when you think of outside of, let's say, your favorite songs, why you gravitate towards them, when we just think of music in general and the current trend of things being celebrated or discussed, do you and your friends relate? Or do you wish it was more realistic to how you living or what you're thinking?
To me, I think, well, for mainstream music, I don't necessarily can't relate because, most mainstream music, pop culture, they talk about drugs and having all the money and going to different clubs. And, personally, I don't think a lot of people can really relate to that. That's like a high life lifestyle that a lot of people don't really listen to. But like more underground artists like Ari Lennox, for example, like she talks about like real life things like relationships and mental health and stuff. So some people you can relate to, some people you can't. It's a one, like a 50-50.
Brianna, what do you think?
I agree. I think like mainstream music I don't really relate to, but like there's some songs that like kind of help me like see my emotions or kind of realize what I'm feeling during those moments. So like there's like this one song that like really helped me through this year, which like Don't Watch Me Cry by Georgia Smith. And that kind of just helped me like navigate my feelings of what was going on through my life at that time. So I feel like sometimes it's like very like hopeful in those terms and I can relate in those terms, but like mainstream music yeah, like again they kind of talk about like drugs, sex, like money. I can't really relate to that right now. I'm kind of more like emotional in that sense, so those are the songs I'm more so relate to.
Jabulani, get in on this conversation with me. Can you relate? You told us 3 of your top 10 that got you through the year. What is relatable about what they're presenting versus maybe a few artists that you can't really relate to?
So I'm not gonna lie, like those artists that I named aren't necessarily artists that I would consider relatable just because of like I guess I don't know if it's fair to like say this, but just how out of touch with normal life they are. Like, they're rapping about stuff that they do. They're rapping about, the life that they live in. And that's just, currently not the life that I'm a part of. And there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes, that type of music, that's just the type of music that make me want to, get tea real quick, but when it comes to music being relatable to my life personally, it becomes a bit harder to find those artists that really are talking about, real stuff and not just like, the fluff. I guess I call it the partying and the fast lifestyle, I guess you could call it. Yeah, and listening to listening to music that matches the type of energy that you're trying to maneuver with, I think is important because the music that you're feeding yourself is what you're essentially going to be chasing. And, a lot of people listen to stuff that's not really, I guess, good for them. You could call it junk food. You can call it junk food for their ears. And me personally, I try to, find stuff that, really progresses my way of thinking or how I feel or the energy that I'm trying to match.
I'm glad that you ended with that. And I love that point of view. So I'll also throw it back to you, Jabulani, and ask you about how does music affect the way you think about sex?
I feel like that's a bit of a double-edged sword because, on one hand, you do have, the conversation being presented, it's constantly in the media. So, you're constantly obviously going to talk about it. But then it's like, how are you talking about it? What type of sex are you talking about? How do you regard the sex? You know, a lot of the conversations you hear about in pop culture as it relates to sex is usually like this thing you do with some random person you may meet, or it's just this, like, I don't know how to explain. I don't think it holds enough weight. I don't think people talk about it as if it holds the weight that it does. Like, sex is more than just, you know, like clapping some shorty. Like, it should be deeper than that. I'm just keeping it a buck, you know, just trying to be frank with it and everything.
I think you
But but yes, when you really think about it, like, what is sex? Like, sex is like how we're here, and I don't think people really, you know, regard it as that as much as they should. And that's just maybe because it's not, you know, as marketable, but I think it should. I think that shift does need to happen.
I don't know if I should go to Faith or Zoe, because both of y'all were like, yeah. So Faith, I'll go to you, and then Zoe, I'll come to you. Because I remember you actually saying sometimes you've heard people quote things out of songs that they gonna try this evening or this weekend. So Faith, I'll start with you and your take on how does music affect the way you think about sex, or even how you think it has youth thinking about sex.
I just want to piggyback off Jabulani. I feel like he was saying, a lot of artists don't hold sex with enough weight, and I feel like it's looked at as just like a recreational activity. Whereas, like, once you build chemistry with that person, it can be, well, it should be much more than that, much more intimate and sentimental. And I feel like that's not really displayed with like mainstream artists. And I feel like that leads into like the whole G Herbo versus WAP thing, because as G Herbo was talking about it, he was just talking about like all the things he was gonna do to women. And but when like Megan and Cardi talk about their body, it's looked at as like, whoa, like you shouldn't be talking about that. But like mainstream artists, there's a whole bunch of men talking about our body parts that they don't even have, but it's looked at as a bad thing when we're talking about what we have in our own experiences. And I just feel like in our society, it's just been normalized to disrespect and in a way, and kind of like silence women opinion. And I feel like that's just like been fed into like our generation and like the people who listen to these artists, and it just like really affects their take on sex. And yeah.
Zoe?
I think she made like great points. But to like kind of feed off what Jabulani was saying, when he to basically just feed off everything he was saying, like when he was saying that sex is how people are made, and then music you just hear like, oh, it's just something to do today, like just something fun to do today. No, we really got to take it as it's how you make another human life. It's how somebody is like experiencing themselves with another person. Sex is life in general, like it's life. And people don't take it like that. When you hear the song, you think, oh, this is something fun to do. I'm about to go pull up, go to the strip club. Let me get a little, drop off some money here. And this is what we about to do. Until you dropped off this money and you about to be paying a lot of more money for the next 18 years. And then it's like, oh, well, I didn't think about it like that. And it really needs to be put in music like that. Okay, sex is like not, oh, you shouldn't look at it. It's not that big of a deal. I don't know why they be tripping, or let me just do this. Let me just do that. No, it's a big deal. And sometimes in music you hear, like, to go kind of back to what Faith was saying, you hear men like glorify so much, but then when women glorify or like embrace themselves and their body, it's like, oh, why are they doing that? That's unladylike. Oh, you're supposed to be somebody's role model, and that's not what you're doing. Well, it's okay for G Herbo or for Lil Baby or even Ice Cube and Snoop Dogg to be your son's role model like this, but you don't want Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion and Sweetie to be your daughter's role model. Why? Because they're talking about the same things, just with different counterparts.
Crystal, I'll ask you, do you think what we hear in songs when it comes to sex and sexual health set unrealistic expectations of what's going on or how it's going to go down?
Definitely. When you're listening to music and them setting those expectations is like a little boy going on Pornhub and like, oh, that's how sex supposed to be. No, like you cannot. That's why it got to be equal. There got to be a balance. There got to be artists like Ari Lennox showing you like, no, your person may not look like Sweetie or Megan Thee Stallion or Cardi B. It might look like Ari Lennox and you're just as beautiful or it's just as great or it's just as good. And yeah, overall, music, it can definitely portray the wrong image of sex. But then again, it can also empower and make a young girl feel like, okay, she can't feel discomfortable. So it just goes both ways. It's like it's a neutral ground.
Me personally, I definitely agree with that. I feel like sex, artists speaking about sex in their songs create this really unrealistic view on it. And because like Jabalani said, they never mention that deeper aspect of it. Like sex can be whatever you make of it, but you have to look at it like there's things that play a part in that as well. It's like a energy transfer. It's getting to know somebody. It's a risk of having a child or anything like that, just like you said. But it definitely creates this expectation that a man or a masculine figure is more so owning everything that happens in this. Like they said it earlier, like G Herbo, for example, or the Baby, or any mainstream artist that you can think about, really, they'll speak on these things about, well, oh, I can do this to a female, this and this and that, oh, I do this, like, and then, yeah, that's like great for a man to do, go around and get, and they can do all these things at a young age and not get judged about it, versus when a female talks about it. For a great example, WAP. People went on an outrage about how females are empowering themselves by talking in their vaginas, and, just talking about like taking pride in what they have and what they do, just like male artists do. And just like, well, dang, why can't a young female grow up knowing that this is what she has? And yes, she has this power. She has this aspect of herself that she should own. And it's just like, well, dang, like it really makes you realize like gender roles are really messed up.
I agree with Crystal and what everybody else said. I think a song that does a good job of making it realistic is Wet Dreams by J. Cole, because like he makes it like he takes it step by step, his first time type thing, and he doesn't like make it out of control. Like he tells us how he didn't know how to put things on. He went home and he was watching videos and stuff. And that's more realistic instead of like artists like Brent Faiyaz, who said that I forgot the age. He was either 13 or 19, but he was doing it with models since 13, which is unrealistic. And I don't think that really happened. But like, I think J. Cole did a good job in Wet Dreams of making it realistic and making it like taking us through the journey of what happened or what could happen. I think a lot of guys can relate to that. So yes, it was 19 from Zoe.
Now, we've been hearing WAP mentioned a couple times already during this conversation. Can we talk about Cardi B and Megan's song? And for my ladies on the panel, if you don't mind me asking, when you first heard that song, how did it make you feel? Did you feel empowered? Did you feel like, ooh, they can't say that? Did you feel like, I'm going to be honest, I was like, finally. I had other couple songs in my heyday, but I was like, yeah, let's talk about it and celebrate it. But how did you feel like the first time you heard it?
If we're being like 100% honest, when I first heard the song, I was like, Cardi, Megan, I love y'all, but this is mad vulgar. I'm like, well, Jesus, I'm like, oh my gosh. But as I moved forward and I listened to the song more and I took the time to think about it, it was like, do I like have this perspective, or is just a projection that I'm putting onto this song? So when you look at it, and I was thinking, well, male artists talk like this all the time. And I'm like, well, actually, now listen to these lyrics. This is an empowerment. I'm not being disrespected in the song in any way for the parts I have. It's just like kind of normal. This is how they talk, you know.
I liked it a lot. Like when I first listened to it, it kind of reminded me of like modern day Trina. That's what it reminded me of, modern day Trina. Because Trina, if y'all ever have listened to, that's why I don't understand how our parents and older generations could be so judgmental. Because I'm like, I didn't listen to some Trina songs. I didn't heard some things that she didn't say. And mom, y'all was not slick. I know you was listening to this. Like I know you was saying these things and singing these songs. So for me, it's like, yes, like Crystal said, when I first listened to it, I'm like, yeah, it is a little more vulgar, but I think that was just another way of them being honest with themselves. This is what it is. I don't have to cover it up for anybody. I don't got to soften it up or put fluff around it. This is just what it is. This is how I'm going to embrace my body and my culture and what I am giving out into the world. And a lot of times men and even like older generations will be like, why couldn't you just keep that to yourself? Why are you not keeping your stuff to yourself? Why did you have to tell me how big or small your penis is? Just like she wanted to talk about her vagina, you want to talk about your penis, so let it be.
Brianna, what do you think?
Like I was kind of late to the train, like the whole walk thing, but like I guess like I just enjoyed it like as like a music perspective. Like I enjoyed it, like the music was catchy. And then like at the end of the day, I felt kind of like empowered and when I was singing it, like it's two powerful women and they're just talking about something normal. So I don't really see like an issue with it. So I personally really enjoyed the song. So it's like a powerful anthem for like women in my opinion.
As a panel, anyone that wants to hop in on this one, why do we think it seems to be more acceptable for men to speak about sex, sexual health, sexual position, sexual pressure? And then there's this when a different gender view steps into play.
I think it's like that because I think men like things catered to them, and that's how their moms treat them as children anyway. So all the like things are being catered to them. If you have a brother, everybody knows like the guy is catered to, and like he's baby. And I think we forget that Cardi B was a stripper, so it was fine when she was doing all that. When y'all was throwing money at her, but now she's singing and saying stuff. Now it's an issue, and they feel attacked, and they feel like it's too much when the script isn't for them type thing. So I think it's just about that. And it's been going on for a long time because if you go back to like Queen Latifah's song, UNITY, when she talking about men calling her the B word and telling us the story and stuff, this been happening for a long time. So I really don't see like men are just like, they just want things catered to them. And when women speak up about it, it's an issue. And it's like, oh, okay. It's just an issue with them all the time, unless it's towards them.
Jabulani, you know I'm coming to you, right? So first I'm going to ask you, what was from the male perspective when you first heard WAP? And then I'll ask you a follow-up question after I get that from you.
All right, so I'm gonna be 100, like 1,000% honest with you. When I first heard before I even like listened to the song, I knew I saw Megan Thee Stallion, I saw Cardi B, and I already got some sort of idea of what this was about to be and what type of stance this song was going to take in the media. I'm just going to put that out there. Now, when I listened to this song and I digested it, I came to the very quick conclusion that this was a, as you all have stated, a song for and about female empowerment. I know I can't speak for like every dude when I say this, but me personally, I don't have a problem with women expressing their bodily confidence and owning who they are and what they like and who and what they feel they should what they feel they should expect from a man. I'll just put it like that. And yeah, so I don't my whole thing with this like men do it all the time and they create songs and about their appendage or how big or small it is, but my whole thing is like that's like what like their audience likes that, their audience receives that. Like I know it's I know it's people in this panelists on here that hear a Chris Breezy song, hear a Jockey song, and they're like, "Ooh, the things that like that, like that's the type of thing that appeals to that type of audience." But me personally, I haven't heard a whole song where a dude just talks about how big his his Joan is, or how whatever. And if there necessarily was that song, I personally wouldn't want to listen to that, because I'm not really trying to hear what you want to do to a shorty in the bed. Like that's not really my business. Like I don't really want to hear all that. And it's just like, it's also, for me, it's also just like a matter of like self, like like privacy, like it's like a privacy type thing. Like I like just bragging to like millions of people to how you know
What?
uh,
That's what you use.
I'm trying to navigate my words, because I don't want to
That's the phone.
offend anybody or anything. I don't want to I'm trying to tread carefully with what I say, while still effectively communicating what it is my opinion is. You feel me? Like, but yeah, just like it's at the end of the day, like it's humans being humans. They're gonna express what they want to express, and people gonna you know digest it how they digest it. Um, Me personally, how I digested it, I saw it as what it was, and that's female empowerment, and giving you know women a platform to talk about the things that they feel that they want for themselves, and that is perfectly okay.
Did that make you look at them differently as artists because of the content of that particular song?
No, because that's the type of, they've already established that as their, I guess, um fan base and background. Like, you look at Megan's pop out song, who was a Savage, and all the lines that she had in there about whatever she had, and the stuff that Cardi B has dropped before that was, already talking about stuff like that. Don't get me wrong, she had a couple of songs that was addressing some real stuff, and I commend her for that. Those were some hitters. I personally enjoyed those few tunes, but yeah, that's just sort of my take on that.
So we just heard Jabulani's idea of the words and how they affected him. So can I ask the panel, when you hear a song like WAP and you're in front of your trusted adult, how does that play out? Do we rock out with it and just go with the flow because they done sang their songs before? When a song like that or a mulatto or something comes on, are we more inclined to turn it down or find something else?
Yeah, just because I don't really want to be thinking about that around my parents. That's that's not really what I want going through my mind when my mother driving me to school. Like, that's not me personally. But
I would definitely agree. Like when I'm around my parent in the car and that song pops up, even if it's the boot version, it's still kind of explicit. I just want to turn it down, kind of. But that just kind of goes to show how society has been kind of groomed for so long to have that as a norm. Because even still, like, it just goes to show, like, they play Lil Baby, the Baby every day almost on the radio, for example. And like, I don't ever want to turn that down. Now I think about it, I don't ever just think to turn it down. But when WAP, for example, comes on, it's just immediately seen as like, that shouldn't be going on. Like, it just goes to show how society is groomed into this certain perspective. But I just feel like Jawalani is one of those males like that has that different perspective that I feel like a lot of other people, more males should genuinely have. Like, that's just what they talk about. That's who they are. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Like the thing about WAP that I appreciate so much is that it was able to open up a conversation about sex and about women being sexual beings. Because I feel like it's always men being, it's okay, that's just men talk, that's just locker room talk, that's what they do. But like for women, like they've been suppressed of that feeling for so long that now I feel like now we're making people uncomfortable and making like society view this as a normal thing than like a taboo thing. So like I'm gonna be honest though, when like I hear like songs, especially like because I listen to Spanish songs in the car with my mom, and a lot of them do talk about sex as well. And I do get uncomfortable because as a woman and as how my mom has made me feel about being a woman and sex, like I feel like I shouldn't know about it. So I'm like kind of innocent towards it. And like when she hears me like listening to those things, like she gives me that look like, what do you know about this? Like, and it kind of makes me feel like that kind of feel bad about knowing about this and about just being a woman and being comfortable about sex and just like being open about that. But like again, like with my sister, I guess it's just different with her because she just knows and she's not as old school. So when I'm with her listening to WAP or like one of those other songs, it's kind of just a song and we kind of just appreciate the music and not the actual message behind it.
Going on what Brianna was first talking about, I feel like insecure men cannot handle women, and that is why WAP had this big uproar and like all these men had something to say about it. But I feel like a secure man, like you would embrace that your woman is, or like women in society are like owning themselves and being confident with their bodies and their body parts, because a lot of men talk about these things in their songs and they talk about body parts that they don't have, they just experience women with those body parts, but they don't really know, they're not really educated about it. But like I feel like for our parents, they were just like, the way they were raised is just like unladylike, and I feel like our generation is like breaking those barriers and like okay with being uncomfortable and starting these conversations and realizing that like society is kind of messed up, like this shouldn't be how it is, like women are often suppressed and felt like just felt like they can't be loud, like the men are like always the loudest people in the room, and like women's opinions and voices are often just shut down, like even in discussions about WAP. And like say if like we were in a room where there were half women and half men, women will tell men like what each other mean by the song and like how it is meant to like empower other women, and men will still think like their opinion is like greater, like no, that's not what she meant, she just, you know, she just wants us to know about her body parts and stuff like that with like a negative connotation. And so I just feel like the more our generation talks about these things and embrace these things, we can just like educate our parents' generation and like future generations to come to make like this not so uncomfortable and not so taboo in our society.
I'm going to pose a question. How do you feel when we hear people in one breath say, oh, women shouldn't be talking about their vaginas and their bodies and owning no sexual experiences? But then we also look at our more feminine entertainers, and some would say they are presented to us in a very sexualized, sexy manner.
Yeah, they make a good point. Like, we can go back to WAP. Like, Megan told, other than she's a good artist, like her whole career is off her body, and she even has a song called "Body" that's topping the charts and stuff. So it's kind of like it's kind of sad because they make money off of us, and even in the music industry, is no women for real. Like, so I'm assuming the execs and stuff aren't women at all either. So it's just like they're making money off of our bodies and stuff. But when we talk about it, it's an issue. When they talk about it, it's a hit type thing. You feel me? So it's kind of sad. And it's just like, again, it goes back like with the song Pull Up by G Herbo. I think that's the name of it. Like it's still a sample from Keith Sweat. So, and he was still talking about licking everything and stuff. And but when Cardi B and them say macaroni in a pot, that's a big issue too. When kids kids can't hear that, parents don't want them to listen to that and all that type stuff. So it's just really sad, and I just think we need to grow out of that as a society.
And I like to stem off of that because everybody wants to talk about WAP and how sexual like the words were, but nobody wants to talk about the deeper meaning behind it. Like for instance, in the video, they literally took females rappers that had a less of a platform than them, and they took them and they promoted them in their video. Like Mulatto, for example, she went big after WAP, or Sukihana Go, or and it just goes to show like, yeah, a male can sit there and sexualize my body all I want and be disrespectful with it and call me out my name and do all these things, and it's okay. Versus when a female talks about it herself and she's empowering others, not just by encouraging this conversation about like you're able to talk about your parts in the manner you want to, but also in a sense that like, especially in the female rap industry, also in a sense that I'm taking this and then empowering females who also don't have as big of a platform because they talk about the same things. For example, Sukihana Go, all her music is about sexual, about her vagina, about how she likes to do certain things, and she's not as popular of an artist because of that. She gets a lot of hate about that thing, and it's just like, well, wow, if a male can go viral off one song talking about his stroke game and how he can hit it and how many females he can bang and how much money he can spend on a female, and a woman can't do the same thing, it's kind of like, well, dang, like nobody really pays attention to that. They only pay attention to what they want to.
Now, we know we have no problem with hearing songs about sex and everything in between. Is it time to have a conversation about songs that also reflect the other parts of sex? The emotions, consent, conversations, being comfortable? And do we think that people would respond to that? I think we've talked about the songs that make it number one, that may glorify things that we'd like to see some equally yoked conversations. But do you think we're ready to have those kind of songs, those kind of music, that kind of music at the number one spot? Do we need it?
We definitely need it. I don't know if people are ready for it though, but we definitely need it. If anybody has ever listened to Yes by Beyonce, she kind of like hints to it. Like, I said no to this one thing, and you took it, and you was just treating me any type of way after that. Like, if you could read in between the lines, you could read in between like what she was saying no to. So she said no to sex, and okay, it's just like nothing after that. Where we really do need music that's like, okay, you need to make sure it's okay to do this, or make sure it's okay to do that. Y'all can glorify sex all you want. Why can't you glorify sex and consent? Why can't you glorify not just one type of image for sex or like one type of body? And I'm talking about like women too, because when a woman talks about a man, you think about one type, that you hear about one type of body or one type of image. So it got to go both ways, because women talk about it all the time. Well, they don't talk about this type of woman, or they talk about that type of woman. Are you talking about that type of male? No. So you got to be fair. Like, I think in our society, we just often just forget about, why do we have to have double standards? Why does it have to be like a man against a female type thing? Or why can't it be equal? And then people say it's never going to be equal, which I don't know. I just don't know if society is ready for these type of conversations, especially in music. They're definitely needed, but I just don't know if society is ready.
To add on to Zoe, like I definitely agree. It's definitely a conversation that needs to be happening. I feel like music is the gateway to that, because music, like we said, that's music is part of everybody's life. You hear music on the radio, you hear music when you're walking down the street, you hear music when you it's not in your car or something like that. So I feel like it shining, especially like known artists, popular artists, shine a light on stuff like that definitely can start this uncomfortable conversation that would like eventually soon, not no time soon, but eventually get rid of this taboo that females can't talk about the things they want to when it comes to sex.
As we bring this conversation to end, Jabulani, I'd like to ask you, do you think it's time for us to hear some songs that are not just about the parts or what we've bagged, but maybe consent and feeling and the emotions and things of that nature too?
Yeah, for sure. I think music has sort of started to over the like the last, I don't know, like 30, 40 years, like like the R&B has sort of shifted away from the relationship and intimacy aspect of it and has started to more so focus on the physical part of it. Like because when I listen back to like R&B music that was made in like the 70s and the 80s, like they had the moves where they talking about straight sex and making love and I want to do this to you and all that yada yada yada. But a lot of it was about just being in like just having that close intimate relationship with a person. Um, you think of that song by I think it was Grover Washington Jr. What's her name? And I think it was Marvin Gaye too. Just the two of us. And it is not necessarily just about always having sex. Sometimes it's just having you around and being able to like make you smile or you make me laugh or we just have like that deep interpersonal connection and I feel like that's missing in a lot of today's music nowadays. It's more so about the physical aspect of it, and that reflects in how our generation regards it nowadays. It's just a physical relationship. It's just something to do now.
So, Brianna and Faith, I'll leave y'all with this question. Knowing that we don't think it's equally yoked, do you think if we had songs that gave us feeling and then I just want to be with you, sometimes I just want you around, would it open up the conversation in the community about sex and sexual health and the standards that we hold more feminine folks to and more masculine folks to?
I think so, just because I feel like when you talk about like women as people, like I want you to be around like and spend time and not just like as sex and not just sexualize women. It makes women feel like just more human. And I feel like even doing that and like talking more about consent in songs from mainstream artists, that will just like open the minds of like the younger generation, because I feel like oftentimes men in their songs like just talk as if they own women, like, oh, I'm gonna do this and this and this to you, but it's just like, why do you think that you're gonna do this and this to me? And I feel like that's being fed into men, I mean like young adults, young men. And it's just like I feel like if they were hearing songs that like just respected women a bit more, then they would just like feed off that, and those the things that the mainstream artists talk about will become their actions, and that would just overall produce a better society around this topic.
Songs always talking about sex and like sexualizing women and just talking about this and that and what they could do to a woman, like it can be really harmful because it can make a woman feel pressured like that she has to do that to maintain a relationship, or like it makes her feel pressure to do things that she doesn't want to do. So I think it's really important if we do talk about songs that just like, again, it's just about the connection of like two people, or just like you don't always have to have sex to have like fun or like be in a relationship, or like just talking about important aspects other than sex like in relationships is extremely important, because again it makes women feel like normalized and like comfortable in the relationship if they're not having sex in that way, if that makes sense. And I feel like if young girls are listening to like what old like the men are doing to their bodies, or just talking about like their body parts, it can bring the wrong message and just make them think differently, especially since they're still growing and learning.
Kenny or Crystal, you want to give us our final thought as we wrap episode 3 of our Sex Is podcast?
Yeah, I would definitely like to add that. Well, I feel like I can speak for most people, but music often strikes a very emotional aspect in people. So, like, you cry, you get angrier. It's a lot of different emotions that come with listening to music. So when you use sex in your music and you don't, and it's one sided, for example, if you're only using one sided, you don't really speak about everything. So like you're not getting the consent aspect because sex is a lot of different definitions. You can't just fit it under one category. So a lot of people kind of force that narrative to put it under one category, if that makes sense. So like yeah. So like for example, like back to mainstream music, they'll only talk about how they pay for this or they'll do this or how they'll sexualize a female, but they never talk about how you need to really get consent in order to do this. How a female shouldn't have to be, like Brianna said, how a female shouldn't have to be like pressured to do something. I feel like definitely that music plays a big part in that, and like those one-sided topics they have on sex often in music definitely plays a huge part in how people view it and how it's perceived in today's society.
As much as it pains for me to say this, we are wrapping this episode of the Sex Is podcast, pop culture, discussing how sex and sexual health are portrayed in popular music. I can't thank my panel enough. Crystal, Jabulani, Zoe, Faith, Kennedy, Brianna. Thank y'all for being so transparent and so honest. I know that we helped some folks have better conversations today. And if you thought this episode was amazing, you ain't seen nothing yet. Make your way to sexisdc.org/the podcast and check out episode 1, where we get all into sex and communication, which is definitely missing in music. And then episode 2, where we talk sex and content. And the best is still yet to come, because come episode 4, we're going to talk more about pop culture, but how people are discussing sex and sexual health when it comes to TV and movies. You do not want to miss this. And for those watching that are a trusted adult thinking you got questions, no worry, we have answers. Did you know right now you can actually download our trusted adult discussion guide at sexisdc.org? Yeah, you can, because when you know better, you do better, you move better. And I can't forget, because we always want to leave you at the highest of vibrations, if you've heard anything that makes you think maybe I should know my status, head to getcheckeddc.org. Did you know they'll send a package to your house that nobody will know what's in it, where you can make sure that you know your status when it comes to HIV and STDs? Yeah, you can even go to sexis.org/free condoms and have condoms and lube sent straight to your door, and it only be your business. See, at Sex Is, we are all about having these kind of conversations where we're open, honest, and judgment free, so that we can move forward in our sex and our sexual health. Until the next time, this is all of us saying peace and take care of yourself. We need some theme music to leave out on.